Hello everybody, welcome to Vigilant Citizen. My name is Josh. Thanks for joining again today. This is my buddy Kepler. Come here, buddy. Come on up. Come on, show off your big beautiful ears. He just got his ears cleaned yesterday. He's got a yeast infection in his ears, but we did a lot of work to clean those out, didn't we? A lot of work, huh? You're a good boy. Good job. He's a very brave boy. As you can see, I've got my new microphone here again today. I apologize for the sound in the last one. I'm still trying to figure all of this out. I've got it spaced back a little bit farther than last time, and I also have the gain turned down just a little bit, so hopefully my voice doesn't clip quite as much as it did last time. So thanks again for joining. Always a pleasure to be out here, and the weather is looking quite nice. I don't know why I started doing that. I just start every single video by talking about the weather. There's nothing more mundane than talking about the weather. Recently I read an excerpt from The Lost World by Michael Crichton, which was published in 1995, and shortly after that I had a hankering to read both Jurassic Park and The Lost World again for probably the, 5th, 6th, 20th, 1000th time. I've read these books a lot, and I gotta tell you, this time around, I finished The Lost World. I shouldn't hold that right up, but still getting used to everything. How does that sound? I finished The Lost World late last night, or I suppose really early this morning, because had some friends over, and then I was really tired after they left around 11:30 or midnight, and yet I stayed up and finished reading The Lost World. So it can't be that bad if I stayed up past midnight to finish it. So, but these two books, Jurassic Park and The Lost World, I do think Jurassic Park the movie is better. The Lost World is a completely different novel than the movie. If you haven't read it, I recommend you do. It's completely different. It's got some different ideas and some good ideas that were completely left out. But as I was reading it, I came across another excerpt that I wanted to share with you all because I thought, two excerpts that I wanted to share with you all because I thought they impacted me pretty heavily, and I thought they aligned with some of the conversations that I've been having about perception and reality and that kind of thing. So let me get to it here. There we go. And just to avoid spoilers or anything, in case you have any interest in reading these, I'm not going to say who's talking or anything, because one of the excerpts is at the very end of the book, so you have no idea. I'm going to leave it to where you have no idea who said it, so that I don't give away like who survives and who doesn't or anything like that. Also, today's drink of choice is tea Earl Grey hot. And of course I've got my Jurassic World mug. Noise ordinance! For the love of God. Okay. So here we go. Do you know about George Schaller? He studied pandas, and before that, snow leopards and lions and gorillas. He's the most important animal researcher in the 20th century. And do you know how he works? Before he goes into the field, George reads everything that's ever been written about the animal he's going to study. Popular books, newspaper accounts, scientific papers, everything. Then he goes out and observes the animal for himself. And you know what he usually finds? That nearly everything that's been written or said is wrong. Like the gorilla. George studied mountain gorillas 10 years before Dian Fossey ever thought of it. And he found that what was believed about gorillas was exaggerated or misunderstood or just plain fantasy. Like the idea that you couldn't take women on gorilla expeditions. I'm not going to finish that part of the excerpt. Wrong. Everything just wrong. So there's something you might as well learn now. All your life, people will tell you things. And most of the time, probably 95% of the time, what they'll tell you will be wrong. It's a fact of life. Human beings are just stuffed full of misinformation. So it's hard to know who to believe. I know how you feel. So I thought this was interesting. It hit me hard. When I last read this book, I was probably 15, 16, 17, something like that. And now I'm a bit older, and I have the benefit of experience behind me and under my belt. And when I read this as a kid, I don't know how I reacted. It clearly didn't have an impact on me. I didn't remember this excerpt. But now when I read it, you know what actually came to mind was the story that I shared with you all back in up in the mountains that video that I did up in the mountains, in which I told you about a nice young gentleman on a motorcycle who started yelling and screaming at me and that kind of thing. And I realized that, you know what, ultimately I'm just in the right and he's in the wrong. Speaking of motorcycles, there you go. There's one right there. All right. But I started thinking about that. I am more right than wrong these days, and I have been for a while, and that's not to say anything about my own ego. I'm not stroking my own ego here. It's because with the years have come wisdom and some discipline to figure out when to lean on being right and when to understand that other people are just humans too. I think I've said this on this channel before, is that other people are just humans too. I'll never forget one time at work. I used to get kind of angry at work when I felt like I was being slighted or somebody was intentionally forgetting me or my team or leaving us out. And something happened one day, and I kind of complained to my boss at the time. I said, why don't they ever include us? I don't understand why this always happens. And his retort was just something like, that he's just a regular guy. He's just a guy. He's just a person. He doesn't know everything. So go to the meeting. It's fine. And that struck me as well. And now that I'm doing a lot of jiu-jitsu and I'm feeling my confidence start to increase a little bit, because I'm beginning to understand what I'm a little bit more capable of and what others are or are not capable of. And I'm finding that I'm able to fight a little bit better, because now when I'm stuck in a difficult situation, I can slow down and I can think and realize that, okay, this is just a person. They have weaknesses, and they might be able to choke me out now, but they're not doing it right now. So I got to keep fighting, because I might be able to find an opening here. And a lot of times lately with people my own rank or below, I've been doing that a lot better now. It used to be that I would just get sort of a little bit panicky. Claustrophobia would just kind of cloud my senses and cloud my rational thinking, and I would have to just completely give up. But now I realize, okay, that person's not any more special than I am, and they don't know some things that I might know. I don't know things that they know. But let's see if I can take advantage of the things that I do know that they don't. And so I don't know if this character's thought process is correct, if 95% of what people think or say is just wrong. But more and more in my life, I'm realizing that, I can just ignore a lot of what people say. And I understand now how people who are getting in their later years can just be completely ignorant of what other people have to say and what they do, because you just have to filter things out. You just have to figure out what's the more important things. In my younger years, I would take everything that everybody said and I would take it seriously. I would think about it and I would take it seriously. I wouldn't even stop to think that, oh, that person could be wrong, that person could be lying, right? And what a mental strain that is, to not even filter it all out. You have to be careful about filtering things out. You don't want to filter out too much to where it gets you killed or anything, or that you come off as completely incompetent and egotistical and ignorant. There's a balance there, but I have found that for the majority of my life, I have given people too much benefit of the doubt. Okay, moving on to the next excerpt here. And this really is the last couple pages, and I'll be sharing the last few words with you. So like I said, I will not share who is speaking here. Are you listening to all that? I wouldn't take any of it too seriously. It's just theories. Human beings can't help making them, but the fact is that theories are just fantasies, and they change. When America was a new country, people believed in something called phlogiston. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Phlogiston. Phlogiston. You know what that is? No? Well, it doesn't matter, because it wasn't real anyway. They also believed that 4 humors controlled behavior, and they believed that the Earth was only a few thousand years old. Now we believe the Earth is 4 billion years old. and we believe in photons and electrons, and we think human behavior is controlled by things like ego and self-esteem. We think those beliefs are more scientific and better. They're still just fantasies. They're not real. Have you ever seen a self-esteem? Can you bring me one on a plate? How about a photon? Can you bring me one of those? No, and you never will, because those things don't exist. No matter how seriously people take them, 100 years from now, people will look back at us and laugh. They'll say, you know what people used to believe? They believed in photons and electrons. Can you imagine anything so silly? They'll have a good laugh, because by then there will be newer and better fantasies. And meanwhile, you feel the way the boat moves? That's the sea. That's real. You smell the salt in the air? You feel the sunlight on your skin? That's all real. You see all of us together? That's real. Life is wonderful. It's a gift to be alive, to see the sun and breathe the air. And there isn't really anything else. Now look at that compass and tell me where south is. I want to go home. Obviously, I chopped up a little bit of that, again, just to get through some of it and not spoil anything. But I think this is an interesting perspective, and it's one that we should all take sometimes. Because you can get inundated with the science, and you can be told to follow the science for however long by whomever, and none of it's real. What's real? This table's real. My dog right there, Kepler's real. Kepler, are you real? Speak. Speak. Prove it. Speak. He's not going to do it, of course. So maybe he's not real. Kepler, can you speak? There, okay. See, he's real. Good boy. Jarvis, do you want to speak too? Speak. Yeah, they're both real. Thank God. So you can sit here and wonder, people go on about the existence of God, you need faith in something you can't see, but then we take all of this other stuff for granted, like photons and electrons and whatever else he said, self-esteem. But I've never seen a photon, and I probably never will in my entire life unless I have an opportunity to go check out one of those incredible super microscopes, whatever they're called. And maybe you won't, maybe you will. But regardless of what your experiences are, you're not going to see everything that everybody else is claiming is out there. How can you verify all of it? You can't know it's all true. And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can't know anything for certain. But again, it goes back to that filter. What is important and what's not? Photons are important because, look, I couldn't be filming this right now if I couldn't see that the record button is on. And yes, this is still recording as well. Right? I need that so I can have my vision and so I can see my doggos and give them the love that they need and deserve. But how does it affect my daily life? What does it do for me? And this isn't being flippant. I'm not being flippant about science or the things out there that are important that make the whole universe work. That's all important too. But for you in your life, what are the most important aspects? What do you need to filter out? And what's going to make your life better? Is it going to be believing people in white coats who tell you how to behave even though they live 2,000 miles away? Or is it going to be making an assessment for yourself based on what you're seeing and observing around you and how others are behaving, and getting a sense of what your own danger levels are? A mouse just scurried by and neither of my dogs saw it. I need my cats to be outdoor cats, I suppose. But is it more important for you to follow the edicts of some people who probably don't know any better than you do? They have a different field of study, and they might be so-called experts in certain things, but they're still just people. They're still just regular human beings, and they don't know everything. Not everybody knows everything. That's important to remember, and remember that when you're filtering things out. Who to believe, what to believe. Take it all with a grain of salt. Don't believe everything you hear. It's the old adage that your mom and dad probably taught you since you were a little kid. Don't believe everything you hear. And in today's world, as you're being inundated with media and other people's opinions on a constant basis, you got to learn how to tune it all out. Otherwise, you're going to go nuts. You're going to drive yourself insane. And before you know it, you're going to be one of those 95%ers spewing misinformation about everything. Not because you're a liar, but because you just don't know any better. Don't be one of them. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I could probably go on about how this affects perception and reality. That's a deeper conversation. Maybe I'll invite Jeremy back on and we'll have another hour-long conversation about these two excerpts, perception and reality. But probably not. But you never know. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening, for joining today. As always, if you have anything that you want to say, if you want to join the conversation, you can comment down that way somewhere, whatever platform you're watching on. Send me an email. That'll be in the description of the video. I always love hearing from you. And I know there's a couple outstanding questions out there, but I haven't found a good way to respond to those. My wife actually posted one and asked the question about, do we still have civic duty? And I've been going around in that one and how to address that or talk about that one, because I think that is an interesting one. So, hey, wife, if you're out there listening to this, just know that I am thinking about it. I'm doing what you do. I'm sitting on it, I'm percolating, and then in a year I'll be able to speak about it intelligently. All right, everybody, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, stay vigilant.